all the sheets are there and everything. And they were putting it to pages for everyone.
She read some, she
I
wrote
don't
this
know
letter.
how
And she
We have to
said,
get somebody
it's
that
gonna be
knows
so,
something.
this is Kaping, you know.
Or I don't
And
see
she
it
said, it's
back
so
there.
much-
That's okay.
such a pleasure to
I'll hold
see
it for now.
Put that food in that thing.
Well, the food is in there.
Can we send you those
I
pictures?
told her she should use them out.
And they have a,
Now,
do
there's
they
an
have a
idea.
size on that?
One used to know can't.
No, that's okay. Don't worry about
They
it.
just simple
It's-
way, but they're
yeah.
happy.
It's gotta be up high. Yep.
They sent me more pictures.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. First of all, I want to welcome everybody to our August meeting. I know everybody didn't come to hear me, so I'm going to make my portions of this brief. Mike and Chris are still out. They'll be home later this week. They went out to the West Coast for their son's wedding. So he will be back later this week. First of all, financial top line, Chris was unable to make the meeting tonight, so there is no report. The museum director's report, and just a few things I wanted to cover. DC Johnson did an excellent job for us on the 175th. We have approximately 1,800 pictures that she took of the whole 175th celebration, and she will be putting those on our website. She's creating a separate page for it, is the initial plan, and all those pictures will be put there, and then other events going forwards will be added to that. So it sounds really great what she's got in mind, and I think we're all excited to see a lot of the pictures. There were so many different photographers and perspectives during the celebration. It's going to be interesting to see all of hers. I don't know if any of you saw it. Some of you may have in the Princeton Times paper. We now have a column. It runs every other week. The next column will be in this Thursday, the 24th. And it's going to be a story about Royal Treat and Royal Treat's leaving to go and seek other ventures. It was when he left the Princeton area to go and start in the cranberry business, cranberry farming. So
Jim?
please watch the paper.
Can you
Yeah.
tell him how he's coming up with those articles?
What Mike is doing is researching, he's specifically looking for the date, going back through history. He's trying to, like, in this instance, it was the August 24th edition of the paper from years ago, from the 1800s, where he found this article.
I think
So-
wasn't, even the last one I thought was 100 years.
It was.
Yeah.
He is trying to make sure that it is, it relates to the date of the publication of the paper. I need to also, if anybody else has other ideas on things to contribute, by all means, let Mike know. Okay. Vicki, renovation update?
Well, we're gonna be talking to an electrician right after the what's hot, what's not, first part of September. So hopefully we get that done. And I would like, if Dave Anderson doesn't have to go under the floor, which I don't think he does for any of his IT stuff, that I would really like to get that insulated underneath the floor. That way we've got that warmed up and we can insulate then once Dave Anderson gets done with all his IT weathering. So that's where we're at.
Okay, thank you. All right, new business. Everybody knows it's just around the corner. Our August 26th fundraiser. Vicki, do you want to give us a report?
Okay, just a reminder, we are really low on ticket sales this year. Yeah, so if anybody, you know anybody that can sell some tickets or get somebody to come with you or that kind of thing, we'd appreciate it. We have the appraisal starting from 1 to 4 or 5, and we have dinner, music. Music will be playing in the afternoon from 1 to 3, I think, or something like that. So come one, come all. I don't know what else to say, Jim. Cash bar, great dinner, terrific speaker. She's going to speak on, after the appraisal, the speaker for the night is going to be what's hot and what's not. What really are duds for collectibles and what's the hot thing to make money on. So.
We also are going to be having like a silent auction.
Ooh.
We have a few photos that we've had reproduced. One is rather a unique one done by Keys around the turn of the century, 1900. Vicki has got a copy. She was gracious enough to provide us with it so that we could get it reproduced, of the Hollister. It's a tug pulling a paddle wheel boat on the river. We also have a picture, we're using one of them that is displayed back by the Black Bridge, or of the Black Bridge. That one is going to be done in color. That will be up for the auction. And the other one is one that Lily Buskoff helped us out with. It was taking a picture of the brewery that we have here. And thanks to Dave Freimark, who's got us copies of photos of John Ernst. Lily was able to superimpose that picture of John Ernst into the picture with the brewery, and it looks really great. So that's another one of the photos up for auction.
And I don't know if you said this, Ron Hatfield
Is provided, he's building the
He's making the
frames.
frames.
He's framing them and matting them.
If you're having an auction, you should get somebody to make you some of those pies.
Yeah. I'd be in trouble if that
Those were a big
happens.
hit.
Okay. Anything else?
We'll see if we can talk to him and see if we can get some cheesecakes from our cheesecake maker. We'll see.
But like Vicki said, we do have tickets. Anybody interested in tickets? Laura's got some at the library. She has a few left, and we'll get more to Laura. Otherwise, you can call the Historical Society phone. I man that. And or you can get them online at Eventbrite. Easy thing. How many people here have gone to our website? It's coming along, and there's been some recent changes on that. It just came to mind that you can get the tickets through our website, but I highly recommend that everybody please visit our website. There's been some great work that DC Johnson has done for us, and under our story, under that tab, and it's growing more and more, and it's becoming a very valuable resource. Okay, just some things to please keep in mind, our upcoming calendar. On September 23rd, we have the food booth. It's our second running of the food booth, so there's going to be calls going out, and we're going to ask for help with the food booth, manning it, taking care of it that morning. We had a very successful one on our last one, and weather permitting, we should have another one. October 14th, it catches some people's attention. The chamber is running their Hollow Wine and Booze, Cider, Beer, and Wine Tasting, which we are planning on participating in. We've participated in the last two, and it's gone over. It's been a very popular event, and it's been very successful. October 27th, 3:30 is our trick or treat on Water Street, so plans are going to start being put together for that event. We frequently have the National Honor Society students help us out with this, and it's right out in the front here, and a couple hours of fun for the kids. And lastly, November 24th through 26th is Christmas in Princeton. The 24th starts with Santa coming to the museum here, and local children can come in and visit Santa, followed by the parade at 6 o'clock. Okay. So, our guest speaker came to Princeton at 9 years old from Economowoc. He is a member of a very musical family, and they even had a small band when he was young. He played accordion, bass, and even a bit on a 5-string banjo.
Yeah.
His school days were spent at the old Triangle School until his sophomore year when he attended his last years at the new school. He left Princeton for a bit, but returned and worked as a real estate agent in Ripon with Bob Sweeney for 17 years.
Well, I was with different realtors for 17 years. I wasn't with Bob all that time.
Okay. Please give a warm welcome to Butch.
Hi. I think pretty much all of you know who I am. I mean, I know most of you, and I'm thinking that some of you are maybe going to have a better handle on what I'm about to talk to you about, you know, because you're as old as I am, some of you, maybe a little older. But what I did was I sat down and I thought to myself, how has Princeton changed from when I was a boy? And came up with a few things like the number of businesses. I think we're probably the only small town in the Midwest that has no hardware store, but we have an acupuncture studio. You know, it's strange. When I was a child, first of all, we had 2 rivers in town. Then they covered up the one that made electricity, and that's no longer here. But if you go up and take a drive up there and take a look to your north, just as you come to River Road, you'll see the indent where the mill ditch ran to the power generating plant. And so we lost 1 river. We lost 2 hardware stores, 3 plumbers, 3 grocery stores there were, 2 furniture stores with funeral services, 2 shoe repair shops, 3 barber shops, 1 hair salon, 3 meat markets, 1 theater, 1 jewelry shop, a woman's dress shop, 3 car dealerships, the Dodge, the Chevy, and the Ford, 2 farm implement dealers, 3 feed mills, a chicken hatchery, several churches, gas stations, beer distributors, enough to service about 20 taverns. And it's kind of funny there's any town left here. I mean, everything is gone. But anyway, what I'd like to do, instead of me talking to you about what was and how it was, I'd like this to be a kind of a conversation. So when you're thinking of something, just pop it out and talk about it, okay? When I talked with Susan, she said that folks had questions about the old school, the Black Bridge, and so I'll focus on the river, since that was our focus when we were young kids. We were always on the river. Somebody always had a boat or a canoe or a skiff, and we were always fishing and that kind of thing, you know. We played a lot around the Black Bridge, and I'm probably one of few people who's ever been underneath of a moving train. In that bridge is a turret so that it could turn and let the boats through. Now, it was no longer turning when I came here and was at that age, but that turret still existed. And down in where that spool was, there's an area that was open around that where you could get down in. So some other fool decided that he would challenge a couple of us, and the train was moving up the tracks from the depot, and we crawled down in there, and the train went over the top of us going to Neshkoro. Crazy. Crazy, yeah.
Was it loud?
Huh?
Was it loud?
Oh, I was terrified, you know. Everything is right there, and the tracks are all creaking and groaning, and the bridge is groaning like it might fall in at any time, you know.
How old were you at that time? 10,
I was probably 12.
12 were you?
I
Did you
think if
fall
my
asleep?
mother ever knew that,
Yeah.
she would have died, you know, that would have killed her. But that's the way we did it in those days. Nobody had too much for brains, you know. We used to do things like, we'd go behind those buildings behind the Catholic church that they used to use for picnic here every year. And we'd walk up the mill ditch as far as was comfortable. And we'd carry a bottle with us, a pop bottle. There wasn't much plastic in those days. You had to use a glass. We'd put a cork in the thing, put it in the water, and then we'd run like hell to get down so that we could see if it would float down and go through where the old generating plant was. Well, sometimes we caught it, sometimes we didn't, but it was just fun things that we did. You had to make up your own games because television there wasn't, and you all know that. And there were no computers, of course. You had nothing to entertain yourself. Nobody ran around making phone calls while he was driving down the road like they do today, you know. So we invented games. We had a game which we called boarding. And my brother Russ and I used to challenge the neighbor kids. You take 3 boards about that long, and the 2 guys, this is really dumb. You throw that board out there on the ground, and then the first guy would get on that board, and the second guy would move up to his board, and then he'd pick up that other board and hand it up front, and then he'd throw that on the ground, and that's the way you went down through the woods. And we could really go with that thing. Boy, we could make that go like crazy. And we challenged the other kids to that. That's how silly you made games for yourself. And you guys know that stuff too, because you, like I say, you had to invent things to do when you were kids too, because there weren't a lot of things around. All right, like I said, we spent a lot of time in the river and on the river and camping. In the summertime, we were always out on the riverbank. We hardly ever slept at home because it was just fun to be out that way. We could paddle a canoe from Auntie Herman's ice house up to the locks in about 6 minutes. And that's about 2.5 miles. So we did that over and over and over again.
Which way were you traveling?
What?
Were you like, that way or that way?
We went upstream.
Okay, all right.
Upstream to, all right. I was going to talk a little bit about the old school. Now, how many of you went to school in the old school?
You know that triangle?
Yeah, the triangle, sure. A lot of people. That was an interesting school because they used all the floors for classrooms. The ag studies and that kind of thing were in the basement. And then they had the first floor and the second floor. And then in the attic, there were always pigeons in the attic. And Calhoun was the principal, and he wanted the manure from the pigeons to put on his flower beds. So he sent us up there with a few gunny sacks and a shovel and whatever, and we had to clean that out. Well, part of that floor was, we had to do that on a Saturday. Part of that floor had boards on it, and part of it was just the lath and plaster underneath. And so one of the kids decided he was gonna scout around in those little places and see if he could see what was back there. Well, sure enough, he stepped off of the floor joist and stuck his foot down through the plaster. Well, the plaster and the lath went down and it caught him kind of like one of those Chinese finger traps. He couldn't get his foot out. We had an awful time. I think that was Jerry Kiley, if memory serves me. But anyway, we had there was no way to get like a wheelchair up and down. And I remember that there was a young gal who was severely crippled, Carla Wagner, her name was. And we carried her up and down those steps. There were 4 of us guys who always made sure that she was carried up where she belonged, you know. And it's funny, it was so different from today. I mean, today if you build a sidewalk in town, you better put a ramp on there so people can get up there with a wheelchair. And there was none of that then. That was just make do the best you could, you know. Another thing we did when we were young men and boys, we had that school farm. And Carol, you remember how we sold hundreds and hundreds of magazine subscriptions to buy that farm. Now I think that might have been a couple hundred acres, if memory serves, somewhere's in there. And I think the school paid like $8,500 for that thing. And we planted thousands and thousands of trees out there. And they've taken trees off for remodeling parts of the gymnasium, I understand. Through the years, they've taken several cuttings, pulpwood cuttings, and then cabin log cuttings and that kind of thing. So, anyway, does anybody have any questions?
You mentioned the ice house. Where was the ice house?
The ice house was down Farmer Street. Let's see if that street even has a name. It's a little bitty short street that runs to the right. And
Probably South Street.
The ice?
South Street.
No, it's one street north of South
North
Street.
of South Street.
Short Street. It's an
I
extension
can't
of
remember if that's Dover.
That's Dover.
That's Dover Street.
Okay.
It's right on the tail end of Dover Street. And there was that ice house was still there and was still being used when I first got to town, because in the hot weather, it was a treat for us to go there when he was taking ice out of there, and we'd get a sliver of ice to suck on, and that was kind of like a popsicle, I guess, you know. But I remember doing that. And then I fooled around a lot at the chicken hatchery. I always had a kind of an interest in chickens, I still do. And then later on I went to work for Lichtenberg Brothers, which was that Quonset, that round roofed building that's just across the drive from the pig. That building that runs there, it's got insurance offices and things in now. We had 6,000 laying hens in there. And sometimes I'd have the 2 guys, Vic and Carl Lichtenberg, they had other interests. They had a farm and they raised strawberries and asparagus and things like that. And so they kind of put me in charge of the chicken house. And sometimes I'd have 5,000 eggs a day. And those got shipped out of here. They didn't stay here. As a matter of fact, right where you're sitting, I used to help Jim and Diane Krieger candle eggs. There was a candling machine that sat right there and a grater. And then the farm gals that had a small flock of chickens, they'd bring all the excess eggs that they didn't use, and they'd sell them to Jim, and then people would come in here and buy a dozen or two at a time, you know. And the back room was all feed, and they'd back up to that dock and pick up bags of high-protein feed and whatever they needed for.
You know, Jim must have sold chickens out of here at one time too, because we found one mummified inside the wall here. One of them got into the wall.
Baby chicks? Baby chicks, I think he sold,
This is a white chicken.
oh, it was a bigger chick, yeah. But I know he sold baby chicks because they used to get them from Sunnyside Hatchery in Beaver Dam after our hatchery closed. But the hatchery here sat right across from the police station where Zill's Heating is now. That was the chick hatchery. Yeah. So anywho, other than that, I don't know what to tell you unless you have some questions. Through the years, I've been writing poetry. I've been published several times. There's a copy of one of my children's poems in the Princeton Library. If you'd like to read it to your grandkids or great-grandkids or whatever. It's kind of a neat little poem and has a very colorful book. And I'm working on another one now, which is just things that came into my mind and I wrote them down. And when you have a mind that's sort of on the warp side like mine is, some of it turns out a little funny. I'll read you just one, and to give you an idea what it is. This is called Confessions. It's a letter to the IRS, okay? It says, I cheated on my taxes. Now I just can't sleep at night. I'm sending you this bank draft to try to set things right. My conscience overwhelms me so, I'll be sure to let you know. If now I still can't sleep, I'll send the balance that I owe. So, okay, I guess I'm about through.
So you went to the public school the whole time? And
Yeah.
there was the Catholic school and the.
Yeah, no, I went to public school when we came here. And I was in the, I think I was started the 5th grade. And the area outside the school was not paved, it wasn't blacktop. It was just dirt. So at lunch, we'd go out, and of course you gotta play, and you gotta play baseball, and you have to slide in. When we went back to school, we're a herd of the grubbiest people you ever seen. All dirt all over your shirt and everything else. And we were always glad when they finally paved it, you know, because you could stay a little cleaner that way. That was an interesting school.
Didn't that make sliding go a little bit hard?
Well, then there was no sliding. take the height off of you, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if you want to hear another little tale about the school being utilized from top to bottom.
yeah,
Of course, you said the ag room and the shop was downstairs.
Yeah.
But there was also a storage room down there.
Sure.
For the commodities,
sure,
for the hot lunch program.
yeah.
And I was one of the gang. Me and some of the other bigger boys were called on to unload that commodity truck when it would come in.
Sure,
Lug all that stuff down to
Sure.
the basement.
sure.
And Edna Schultz was the cook.
Yes, for a long, long time.
And she remembered us 4 guys when we came
Yeah.
through the lunch line.
Yeah. I remember there was some kids by the name of Rampke came from out there on where they had the boat dealership out there on 20 or what is that, 73. And this one Radke kid was a pretty good basketball player. He was fast and whatever. So somebody wrote on the insulation down there in the basement. Remember those pipes were all covered with that big thick insulation? They meant to write Rapid Radke. Instead they wrote R-A-P-E-D, Raped Radke. And I thought, boy, talking about displaying your morality, I mean, you're being a moron, you know. That was the way to do it. Yeah, we had chores. I helped Alex Rajik many times, you know, sweep floors after school. There only was one janitor. Heck, there was only one cop, and I can remember the difference is funny between the way the police are today, and the way they have to be today, and the way they were then. Sometimes when your hair got a little long and you were running around the street or whatever, Ray would stop you and he'd say, hey, get a haircut. Get over by Tiff and get a haircut. Here's $1. So he'd give you $1 and you could get a haircut for $1. So you'd run to one of the barbers and get your haircut, you know. I wonder how many cops would give a kid $1 for a haircut today.
They wouldn't take it.
No, that's right. Yes.
A cop used to give $1 to Alan Weir.
Yeah.
Go get your hair cut.
Yeah.
The next 4, 5, 6 weeks, he'd get another one. He'd stuck $1 in his pocket.
Yeah.
Al always told that story. He
Never got
once got a haircut. Went and got a haircut.
Never got a haircut. That's true.
Hey, Butch,
Yeah.
tell them about the west side of town where the old mill used to be.
Oh.
And the electric plant.
Yeah.
About that burnt down or?
Yeah, well, the electric plant they removed, and that was gone already when I got here, but the mill ditch was still open, and the water flowed and just went back down into the river. But there were 3 feed mills here at one time, and when you go on River Street, that makes a Y, and this little street goes up here, and then that one continues on out. There's an apartment house that sits there. That used to be Miller's Mill, Elmer Miller had a feed mill there. And I was there when that mill burnt. And you never seen anything burn so fast. And there were little explosions in there. Apparently, there were dust pockets in there, and when that would hit that dust, it would kind of blow up, you know. And I was there, and there were 2 other firemen, 2 firemen, I was just a kid, 12 or 13. There were 2 firemen on that hose, and it was a big hose. And I remember Auntie Herman's boy, John, was there, and he was a big, stout kid. So the fireman said, grab a hold of this, because there were 4 spots on this hose that you could hang on. And so somebody opened that valve, and that hose took us back, like from over there, way back like this. It just pushed you back. You could hardly hold it. And we were spraying that mill, and that thing burned flat to the ground, and that was the end of that.